Hey. Welcome to a world of laughter, learning, and entertainment. Hello, dear viewers. Get ready to expand your horizons as we delve into Heightened Senses. Heightened Senses is an online story written by Sharat Chinnapa. It was started on May 6, 2012. It is a dystopian and borderline science fiction story set approximately 30 years into the future. The story is updated every Tuesday and Saturday. In this alternate future, genetic experimentation has caused an infectious genetic mutation known as Gene X to run rampant. Get ready for an exciting part as we dive into Gene X mutations. A Gene X mutation, caused by the virus Heightened Senses, is a highly infectious condition that causes the afflicted to react to a single certain trigger. The reaction to this trigger often results in a heightening of the senses of the afflicted, a condition known as a heightening. Most of the main characters in Heightened Senses are infected and have heightenings. In this part of the video, we'll be delving deeper into setting and backstory and analyzing its key components. Gene X went viral 30 years ago and the world went out of control. There were massacres of infected people, and those who wanted to escape the infection built settlements called stations that were completely cut off from the outside world. The population of the world dropped drastically and people regressed to a life with very limited resources. Aside the stations, people grouped together under powerful leaders in order to survive. And an organization called the country was formed. The origins of the country are uncertain, but they are the primary organization that battles the stations in the vicinity of the story. With our foundation established, it's time to explore plot summary and its relevance to our overarching theme. The plot begins in a city now called Haven. The old name of the city is forgotten. The primarily follows two characters, Lance and Ride. They are fighters for hire in the city of Haven, where they accept jobs for payment in cash or kind to keep themselves supplied. An informant, Terry Hunswich, approaches them with a case regarding a missing child and they accept. The case leads them to the doorstep of the one who is effectively rules the city, Shadow. Shadow has, in fact, constructed this case to bring Lance and Ride to him and make them an offer. A third party, Aaron Veal, the Ace of Diamonds C rankings in the country, joins their meeting, and things turn hostile. Eventually, Shadow makes his proposition, after Aaron leaves. He wants the pair to infiltrate the country and bring back information regarding research the country is doing on multiple heightenings. He reveals that this boy he has kidnapped, Jared, the one Lance and Ride are supposed to recover, is an example of a person with two heightenings. Lance and Ride decide to accept the offer despite the danger involved in dealing with the country. They return to their base of operations and are met by the Jack of Clubs, Jay, who identifies herself as a double agent who is reporting to Shadow from the country. They leave with her to the country's base and are welcomed into the House of Clubs. Inside, Ride is taken to meet the King of Clubs, Cloud, while Lance is dismissed to a room upstairs. Inside, he is met by the Queen of Clubs, Eleanor. Cloud offers to teach Ride to transcend on the condition that he joins the country, and Ride accepts. Meanwhile, Eleanor makes a similar proposition to Lance. She suggests that since they have very similar abilities, they might be able to learn each other's, proving that heightenings are not as limited as they are believed to be. He accepts as well and they begin practice immediately. Terry Hunswich attempts to sneak into the Spire Shadow's stronghold and spy on a meeting between the top executives in Shadow's organization. She manages to get in, but is caught. However, Jared pleads for her life and Shadow decides not to kill her. Instead, both Jared and Terry are sent on a mission to a station identified as Station Aris. The next day, Lance is accosted by some members of the House of Clubs and is forced to defend himself. The fight is interrupted by Jay, the Jack, who declares that Lance be put in solitary confinement for a week for his actions. She escorts him out and explains that this is a ruse to give him greater freedom of movement in the country. His task is now to infiltrate the other houses of Spades, Diamonds, and Hearts in turn and fulfill Shadow's assignment. Meanwhile, Ride begins his training with Cloud and is kept apart from Lance. He believes his friend to be in solitary confinement. Jay leaves Lance at the House of Spades, where over a few days he befriends the Three of Spades, Flair, and steals one of her access cards. With these he is granted access to the computers and he finds information he believes Shadow might be interested in and transfers it onto a drive that Jay gave him. He then leaves the House of Spades and goes to the House of Diamonds. 6 days into his week of solitary confinement, Lance incapacitates the Four of Diamonds and takes his access card, attempting to use the same trick he used at Spades. But while attempting to steal data from the House of Diamonds, he sets up an alarm. Before he can escape, he is confronted again by Aaron Ilesville and captured, but during the battle, he catches a glimpse of Jay leaving the facility. Within Station Aris, an order is given for people to be sent out of the station to capture specimens from the outside to test the effectiveness of a drug that the stations have developed to counter Gene X. In the country, a meeting of the royalty is called and Cloud finds that Eleanor has disappeared. He takes Ride along instead. At the meeting, the possibility of the stations mobilizing again is discussed. And at the end, Aaron Ilesville announces that an intruder was caught in Diamond's Lance. The punishment decided for him is death. Meanwhile, Eleanor breaks into the House of Diamonds and rescues Lance and they attempt to escape the facility. Plot has gone this far as of Match August. Let's now shift gears and explore the country through a critical lens, uncovering its strengths and weaknesses. The country is an organization formed approximately 30 years prior to the start of the story. Their primary objective is to combat the stations and prevent them from massacring people from the outside, as was done 30 years ago. The country is divided into 4 houses: the House of Spades, Hearts, Diamonds, and Clubs. The country is composed of members and card holders. The former are mostly soldiers or scientists. Moving ahead, let's uncover the hidden gems within card holders and discover their significance. The country's equivalent of an officer is a card holder. They rank 2 through Ace and increase in seniority and power from 2 through Jack. The king and queen seem to have an approximately equal relationship as decisions are taken by both parties. Note, there is no indication that the king and queen are married, it's just a rank. Very little is known at this point about the aces. The Ace of Diamonds seems to be a somewhat autonomous entity but has never taken a decision that affected the entire house. Brace yourself for a deep dive into types of heightenings as we explore its impact and relevance in our evolving narrative. Commonly, there are 3 distinct types of heightenings: transformative, amplificatory, and hypnotic. There is also mention of a 4th type, the transcendental heightening. Transformative heightenings involve the user's body being physically modified. Amplificatory heightenings cause a certain sense or ability of a normal person to be dramatically increased. Hypnotic heightenings involve some kind of hypnosis where the user can influence the mind of another person, or in some cases himself. Transcendental heightenings are of 2 types. First, where it is innate, the person is born with this, and it involves the ability to affect the physical world with the mind. The second is the acquired type, where a normal heightening is improved so much that it results in an almost godlike ability. Now, let's dig deeper into Lance Kellita and unveil the hidden treasures it holds within. Also known as the Igniter H, 19 height, 172 trigger, proximity to fire. Heightening, hypnotic, the ability to transfer select thoughts with a person for as long as he is near the fire. Background: Lance grew up in a small town many miles from the city of Haven. He was an only child. The town was closely knit, as such places are, but supplies are scarce. They only have what they can produce themselves. Lance and Ride both left to seek their futures elsewhere 3 years before the start of the story. They still occasionally return and leave some of their profits behind. Lance has a very high tolerance of pain. He sometimes practices his heightening on himself. However, despite his famous reputation as the demonic igniter, he only kills when he is forced to. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of Ride as we examine its impact and relevance. Last name is currently unknown. Also known as the Viper, age 23, height 180, trigger repetition of a sequence of notes. Exact notes will be added. Heightening, amplificatory, dramatically heightened brain assimilation. Results in faster judgment and reaction time. Average heightened reaction time 0.06 seconds. Background, Ride and Lance come from the same town and have known each other almost all their lives. Ride is practical and situation-oriented. It was his idea to leave the village and work for hire in Haven, in order to be less of a burden to the town that was his home. He proposed the idea to Lance, who agreed. Let's zoom in on Terrehan switch and understand its implications. Age 22, height 167, trigger skin contact with iron. Exact notes will be added. Heightening, amplificatory, the ability to repel attention. Implies that people are highly likely to not notice her presence. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of Shadow as we examine its impact and relevance. Age 15, height 172, trigger unknown. Heightening, unknown background. Very little is actually known about the one called Shadow. He rose to prominence in Haven 4 years before the start of the story, when he was merely an 11-year-old boy. He was quickly surrounded by strong people, who often acted on his behalf. Slowly, his power began to consolidate in the unnamed gang that is known only as Shadow's Folk. He has a reputation for not being seen or leaving dead those he has encountered. Perhaps this is the reason for his name. The truth of his heightening and trigger is obscure, because most who have seen it are dead. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of Eren Isle's deal and their profound significance. Also known as the Ace of Diamonds, age 22, height 167, trigger unknown. Heightening, it is likely to be the production of electricity in his body. Background, Eren is a powerful member of the country. In the organization, he is something of a lone wolf with his own agenda. He seems to have a good intelligence network, as he is often quickly informed of things, but this network has never been discovered. The spotlight now falls on Jay as we delve deeper into its details. Also known as the Jack of Clubs, age 25, height 156, trigger unknown. Heightening, unknown background. Jay is the Jack of Clubs. She plays the dangerous role of Shadow's contact in the country, and she cannot afford to be found out. She brings Lance and Ride to the country as Shadow's agents, but there are other reasons too. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine Cloud and its connections to our previous discussions. Also known as the King of Clubs, age 27, height 183, trigger unknown. Heightening, Telkins's background. The awe-inspiring and charismatic King of Clubs is the youngest of the 4 kings. It is said that he has never even been touched in a battle. He joined the country as a Jack, the first and only person to ever be made a senior member upon joining. When the previous king was killed in the raids by stations 8 years ago, Cloud took his place not only by the old king's command, but along with a unanimous vote in his favor. All of the clubs are fervently loyal and will do anything he says except, perhaps, one person. Prepare yourself for an eye-opening discussion on Eleanor in the upcoming portion of this video. Also known as the Queen of Clubs, age 26, height 170, trigger absence of sunlight. Heightening, the ability to transfer thoughts from another person to herself. Background, Eleanor was the country's youngest member. Both her parents were of the country, so she was born and raised within it. With both of them among the dead in the station's raids 8 years ago, she was left alone and rose quickly up the ranks. While her ability is not an offensive one, she is able to use it to predict a person's movements, making it exceedingly difficult to match in combat. Prepare yourself for an in-depth analysis of Ray Steele in this section. Age 41, height 179, trigger none. Heightening, none background. Ray Steele was 11 years old when he became part of Station Ares just as the conflict was beginning. His father was a rich businessman who died when Steele was in his late 20s. That year, Steele joined the Reese Defense Force. He was a late entrant, but rose up the ranks quickly. In his early 30s, he played a vital role in the most gripping strike the stations ever made on the country. Acclaimed for his strategic improvisations in that battle 8 years prior to today, he became a candidate for the post of the captain of the Reese Defense Force. He finally rose to this position when he was 35 and has led the force competently since then. He is also an excellent shot with a variety of weapons. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and share it with someone who might benefit from it.